When I took the Librarian posting on Kethara Station, I figured the hardest part would be the filing system. What I did not expect was to be called before the Archival Council within my first week, because I had, quote, accessed materials that have driven entire civilizations to silence. Alien indexing is nonlinear. They organize by emotional resonance rather than subject, so grief poetry ends up next to astrophysics and both are shelved beside recipes for fermented root paste. I adapted. I'm a librarian. Weird systems are kind of our whole thing. The restricted archive on Kethara is behind a door made of a metal that hums, not decoratively. It hums a frequency that triggers deep unease in most galactic species, a biological lock. You feel dread, you turn around, you don't go in. I felt a slight buzzing in my fillings and walked right through. Inside, rows and rows of data crystals, bound texts, and sealed containers. Everything cataloged, everything preserved, and everything marked with the same symbol, a fractured circle, meaning knowledge that wounds. I picked up the first text I saw. It was a theoretical physics paper. Dense, sure, but mostly about dimensional membrane theory, how universes might layer against each other, pressing but never merging. Interesting stuff. I took notes. The second text was a biological survey of predatory ecosystems. Graphic, but I've watched nature documentaries. The third was a philosophical treatise arguing that consciousness might be an accident and that meaning is something organisms invented to avoid despair. I'd had that exact thought in college. I'd written a paper about it. I got a B-. The archivist who found me was named Shurth. She came through the humming door with what I can only describe as the expression of someone finding a toddler playing with a loaded weapon. "You're reading that," she said. "It's interesting," I said, though I think the author undercuts their own argument in section 4. The logic gets circular. Shurth didn't respond. She left the room at speed. Within an hour, I was sitting before 5 archival elders, all of whom looked at me the way you'd look at someone who'd eaten glass and asked for seconds. These texts, the lead elder said carefully, contain truths that have ended philosophical traditions. Species that have absorbed this knowledge have entered permanent cultural withdrawal. The Ven spent 40 years in collective silence after reading the treatise on accidental consciousness. 40 years, I said. They only recently resumed poetry. I said respectfully, we've had that debate since a Greek guy sat in a bathtub. We kept going. The elders exchanged a look that I would later learn was the Ketharan equivalent of what the hell is wrong with these people. They audited everything I'd read. 7 texts in total, spanning physics, biology, philosophy, and one that was apparently a mathematical proof that free will is computationally impossible. This one, Shurth said, holding it up. This one caused the Dreth to dismantle their entire legal system. Oh, I said, yeah, we've got a version of that. It's called determinism. It comes up a lot in undergraduate philosophy courses. Students argue about it over cheap beer and then go to class the next day. You teach this to your young, she said. We make them write essays about it. Shurth set the text down very carefully, the way you'd set down something that might detonate. The council didn't restrict my access. They couldn't really. The biological lock didn't work on me and I'd already read the worst of it without flinching. Instead, they did something I didn't expect. They asked me to write a guide. A human contextual framework, the lead elder called it. How humans encounter these ideas. How we metabolize truths that flatten other species. What we do with the despair. I thought about it, and I said we mostly just keep asking questions. The answer hurts, so we ask a better question, and if that one hurts too, we write a book about it and make someone else deal with it. Shurth stared at me. That is the most terrifying thing I have ever heard. Yeah, I said, we also call it a liberal arts degree. I'm still on Kethara. They gave me full archive access, the first non-elder in the station's history. The archivists check on me daily, not to restrict me, to make sure I haven't started asking questions they're not ready to hear. The best stories come from real life. If you've got a scenario you want changed into a sci-fi version, a job, a moment, something that happened to you, leave it in the comments. I read them all and might just turn it into the next story.